Hi, Enchanted Living family, and welcome back to our last session on blue zones. Well, last talking about the 16 different categories, things in common that the various blue zones have. And on our final section today, we are talking about the piece on connection with others. And for all of those who are introverts out there, you're like, oh no, connection with others. I don't need that. But truly, I don't think human beings were meant to be solitary, like maybe tigers out there in the wild. I think we were actually more like herd animals. We like to have people around, we like to have our community. The challenge is not having the right community around us to make us feel comfortable and happy. So that is this piece, this connection to others that increases longevity and vitality and decreases things like Alzheimer's. And there's various pieces to it. And I'm going to add some of my own, of course, with our Feng Shui aspects and what we can do in terms of supporting these blue zone concepts within our own home, and then what changes we might also choose to make in our life. So in this category of connecting with others as often as possible. Now, as often as possible in terms of what feels comfortable for you. Now, this can be anything from immediate family to those people that you choose as your friends and family. So it's all about having a way to have those connections. In their study, they kind of talk about family first. And it doesn't necessarily mean that that's more important. But what they found, especially as we get older, that sadly, the statistic is people who go in to live in nursing home situations tend to have a 8-year decrease in their lifespan versus people with the same comorbidity codes, the same kinds of issues, who are living with family or being supported by family in their home. That's a big difference. And I'm not going to say that the difference is, oh my goodness, horrible nursing home care, right? That's not, it might be a part of it. But let's say it's great nursing home care. I think part of that could be, though, if that place that they're living doesn't feel like it creates community, if it doesn't give them a sense of purpose, if it doesn't make them feel like they're needed. So I'll also say that if somebody's living with family and they're made to feel like they're not important and they're a burden, they shouldn't be there, I don't think that's a great situation either. So the concept here, though, is taking care of those that we love. And if we look at ancient cultures revealed their elders. They were the wise ones. They were the ones who had lived through a lot of different situations. And even though they might not be as physically able to go out and do things, they were still very much respected for their knowledge, their wisdom, the love, and the guidance they had provided over this time. And so that honoring is a piece of it. So maybe you're not in that position of being the elder right now. You're in that position where you can honor the elders. And so maybe think about how you might choose to do that. Now, let's say you are in the, hey, I'm in that elder generation. People should be honoring me. We can, but we can also reach out. We can make that connection with those people that we want to have that connection with as we continue to march forward in time. So start to build those bridges. Our Western society has allowed it so that people leave for college, right? They leave home for college. They go out to see the world. They can get a job anywhere. They move far away. And supportively, everybody's like, yes, that's a great job. That's the one with the most money. perfect place to go and live. It's exciting to live there. But we've kind of forgotten about this core value of family. And I think it ripples down in a lot of different ways in how young children are being raised, but in daycare. So there's a lot of different challenges along that way. But the more we can support family being around, I think the better off we will all be for not just this generation, but for multiple generations to come. So what if you're going, LuAnn, not my family? Totally fine. It means you get to choose your family, right? Your family of choice. And so the next level that they talk about is partnership. And so they look at marriages, and they look at other close partnerships, and how having this very close friend is an important piece to this longevity, right? You're important in somebody's life. You're making a difference in somebody's life. And so having that kind of close partnership, romantic or otherwise, is an important and integral piece in this longevity quest. And then maybe the one that might feel easier because you're like, oh, I don't have anybody, right? That's okay. It's like you got to find your tribe, right? And I think here in Enchanted Living, we are our own tribe. But it's also important, I feel, for you to have in-person people around somewhere. And it doesn't mean that you have to divulge maybe all your secrets to them, but you could have your tribe of people who love rocks and crystals. Maybe you go to the local rock and crystal store and you know the owners now, and you talk to them and you talk rocks, and they're your rock people, right? You go to events there. Those are your rock people. Maybe you love plants. So maybe you go to the local nurseries and greenhouses and you know those folks and you talk plants to them, right? You can have these various tribes. It's also, we've talked this year about the power of volunteering. And maybe you have a volunteer organization group or something that you donate your time to, and they become also another part of another tribe for you. So thinking about who these various tribes are, who these various close connection of people are, that you go, you spend time, you talk about something that you're interested in. And the piece is you want to keep it up regularly, right? You want to have that regular sense of connection. You know, the pandemic proved to all of us, I think, that we are resilient enough to stay in our own homes and not go completely crazy, probably because of Netflix and Amazon Prime and a lot of good books. But we weren't meant to just sit in our houses. However, it is easy to just sit in our houses, right? Now that pattern was created, it can be easy to just sit here, and it can be easy to just do things on Zoom. And I love us doing things via Zoom and via the internet, don't get me wrong. But there's also great power in connecting with people in person and having that energy around you. Like, it's the difference between sending a hug emoji to somebody on Facebook and then truly being in the room with them when they're having a tough time and being able to physically give them a hug. So think about who are my tribe? Who are my people? Who do I have around that I can laugh with, connect with, joke with, lean on those times when I need some support? And those are the categories that we want to look at. We weren't meant to live in solitary confinement. That's why it's a punishment in prisons, right? We weren't meant to be solitary. So think of who your people are so that you have various levels. Now, how do we interpret that? You know, you might be thinking, I don't know who my people are yet. Well, let's put the Feng Shui in place so that those different levels of relationship can be strengthened or called in. Now, let's talk about the bagua for this one. And as you know, in the bagua, there are a lot of different areas that could relate to this category of community. In fact, there's so many. I think that kind of should give us the heads up of, wow, the ancients knew how important this was too, that these are important categories in life. There's important areas that we need. And these are the different directions that support that. Now, as you know, we look at the bagua, which is this kind of like 9 square tic-tac-toe laid out over the house as if you're standing at the front door looking into the house. And so let's talk about some of these categories in the same order that I talked about these different areas of community and connection. And the first one was family. Okay. So there's 2 areas of the bagua that kind of talk specifically about family, and maybe even 3, but we'll just talk about these 2. And we're going to talk about ancestry and health, and children and creativity. And so these are on the middle right and the middle left of your home, whatever rooms and areas those are. And so these areas, if we look at ancestry and physical health, that is an area that is supported by what we call wood or plant energy. It needs to feel lush and thriving and growing and strong, like a tree, right? If you think of a family tree. And so in that area, it can be a great place to honor where you come from, like physical DNA that you inherited. Like what are the building block components? What were the blueprints for you, right? Your physical body. That's the blueprints in that DNA that was passed down from generations and generations. And I was thinking about this morning. In fact, the oracle card that I pulled this morning was all about the bloodline. It was all about the stories that you carry within your blood, within your DNA. And so, of course, that area also has to do with our physical health. Well, that makes sense if we're talking about health and longevity, living to be a centenarian. So we are talking about physical health, but we're talking about that piece that we inherited. And of course, there can be some things that you inherited that no matter how great your exercise and eating program was, DNA-wise, you have that congenital heart problem, or you inherited type 1 diabetes, right? It's just a genetic something in the way that code was written. I don't want to call it a fault, because all of these things in some way or another help us grow to be the person we are, right? Whatever challenge we have that opportunity to be a victim, or we have that opportunity to accept the challenge and be the survivor and find a way. So with that DNA bloodline, you might think about what it is that you inherited, right? What it is that you inherited that are way cool things that you really like, and what things that you inherited that could potentially be a challenge for you, a health challenge for you that you may or may not have yet. And think about how you want to focus your intention and energy on, I'll call it healing that, right? There's a lot to be said about how we can work with intention and energy and heal our DNA. I will tell you that there is a tone. It is the heart chakra tone. It's, I think, 528 hertz tone. It's called the DNA healer. And maybe that's just a tone that a singing bowl that you play once a day. It could be music from YouTube that's at this 528 hertz frequency. That note occurs a lot in that music that you play in your home. But think about what this DNA is that you're carrying, right? You might even write out what you're grateful for. I'm so grateful. My grandmother, I wish I had a picture of her right here. I have I need to get a picture of Nan, because Nan and I have exactly the same eyes. Like these were the eyes that Nan had. And so I was like, Thank you, Nan. I'm not quite sure where she inherited them from, but I can see parts of myself and where they came from, right? Where that DNA came from. And because I know that my Nan is one of my helpers in spirit realm, I'm pretty sure the more grateful I am for what I received from her, the more helpful she can be. So on that energetic level, that ancestry area, maybe you want to take a look at all these parts of you that you are kind of proud of. Put some thank you or some gratitude or some intention altar to that ancestor, that being there in that space, so that you're just honoring, this is what I got from you. If you have an ancestor that lived a very long life, maybe you put something honoring them and say, gosh, I hope I got that DNA gene, to just honor that aspect. So that's the family and ancestry area. Children and creativity are kind of what you've then passed on, what you've created. And those are the ones, right, that you want to have take care of you as you get older. And so this children piece is not just all playful. It is about how you have created these functioning adults in society. Now, I don't have two-legged children. I only have four-legged children, and I'm pretty sure they're not going to be able to take care of me when I'm older. So I have to think, in children and creativity, who are those beings, right? And not from a selfish standpoint, it's important to have those connections with those younger generations to pass on your knowledge, your wisdom, your help, right? All of those things that it's important that you are here to do, to share with them. So I was fortunate enough that with Ted's Martial Arts School, a lot of those little kiddos continue to be my kids, right? And in fact, this weekend, I just went to a fall festival with a couple of them. And now they are in, like their 30s and 40s. But in that sense, they are my chosen family. So you might think about who in those next generations, who are my chosen family, right? If you have your own biological kids, of course, this is a way to think about how you are connecting with them. What are the wonderful traits in them that you want to honor, right? I'm sure there's frustrations with all kids. Just in my small circle here in Leechburg today, I've heard some parental frustrations with their kids being, missing the school bus and being whiny, and like a lot of characteristics that they don't like about them. And those are frustrating things, but I'm going to encourage you to think about, what are the traits of my kids that I truly cherish, right? And put something in that children and creativity area that honors those traits about them. Maybe put their picture up and put those captions underneath, or put those captions behind it, and just hold that energy of what kind of wonderful, stellar beings they are. So that's how we can look at this family piece. Then the next area of the bagua that we want to look at, and children and creativity, is all about what we call metal energy. So that is like white and metal objects and round circles. So just taking a look in that area, are we honoring this energy of focus and completion of something? Because you're going to complete your children, right? And then in the ancestry health area, we want to grow, right? So that's why it's the plants. Okay. Now on to the next topic. The next topic was partnerships, marriages, but it can be any of that close one-on-one kind of connection. And so in the bagua, our far right corner, that is our marriage relationship area. And so looking at that area, what is your representation there? Earth energy is what supports that. And Earth is all about being grounded, solid, stable. They're not talking about passion, sex here. It's not the fire energy, wild and crazy area. It is grounded, solid, stable. And that's what you want this relationship area to feel like. The other thing you want to look at is symbolism in this area. And notice what kinds of artwork you might have there. Notice what kinds of patterns, shapes, symbols. You might have, so like if everything is one object standing by itself, well, that's sort of a symbol of aloneness, right? But if you think about how can I just shift things so two objects are together, maybe instead of the candlesticks being over here and over here, we put the candlesticks together in a cute little pair, right? So thinking about how can I create this sense of partnership, if you want to call one in. If you're in a partnership and it doesn't feel as close as you want it to be, you still want to check, do I have a candlestick here and here? I have been in so many families' homes where relationship was an issue. And when we looked in that relationship area, and they would say, well, I have two candlesticks, right? But in between those two candlesticks, there was a whole bunch of other tchotchkes. And I would ask, what do these represent? Well, they didn't have any meaning. So what happens symbolically, right? If we want to look at, create the story around this, it's like, he's here, she's here, and there's all this dumb stuff from the world that keeps them apart from each other. So when you think of that being the story, then when you put the two candlesticks next to each other with nothing separating them, and then put together tchotchkes on the other side of the fireplace mantle or the other side, and it's like we're here, and all that other stuff that's cute in the outside world but is distracting is over here. Maybe it is just talking through the story with people and having them think about that aspect. Or maybe it is the magic of placement of Feng Shui. But take a look in your relationship area and see what you might be able to adjust and shift and change, and just call in that close, supportive relationship that you deserve. And then, right tribe. Well, the bagua area for this is helpful people. And that is as you walk in your front door, in the front on the right-hand side, that is our helpful people area. And that is people who are helpful to you here in the physical. It's also helpful people in spirit realm. But since we're talking about right tribe, being physical people right here with you, then how is that represented in that area? Is it anything there? If you volunteer for an organization and those are some of your fun volunteer tribe people, is there anything that represents them, or an event that you did together, or something about that organization, right? Think about, how can I represent my right tribe here? And be imaginative, right? How can you symbolize that? Part of it is that creating that reminder to yourself that I'm a part of this group, right? Even when we're in our home and we're not with them physically, there needs to be this reminder for you to feel like I have a connection. I am important to other people and they are important to me, right? As I say this, okay, a piece of this blue zone is that we have to have a purpose for getting up every day. We have to feel like we are making a difference. We have to feel like we are important in some way to other people, to animals, to the world, right? There's a reason why we're getting up and doing this every day. And so think about how you get represented in helpful people as well. So those are our Feng Shui suggestions for the blue zone. And I look forward to hearing what discoveries you might have made in your house that you can make some changes to. And I look forward to seeing you in the Facebook group. All right, take care. And if you feel like it, please join us on a Monday night soon. All right, bye-bye.